In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to limit your color modifications to just those colors inside of a given color library. And of course, you'll most likely want to use this technique to limit your colors to spot colors, specifically here in the States, those colors associated with the Pantone ink library. I've saved my progress as newcolorgroups.ai. And just so that we can see the results of what we did in the previous exercise, I'm going to go ahead and select this 6 tuplet group right there in the swatches panel. Then I'm going to switch back to color guide. Blue is still the base color, the blue of the t-shirts, that is. And I'll go ahead and select the background rectangle and switch it to something like this purple right here. I've got my color set to warm cool, incidentally, so that may be the same or different than what you have. I'll go ahead and select the sort of scarlet shapes as well and change them to orange and see how that looks. And then finally, just for larfs, I'll grab these leaves here and change them to sort of a shade of green. And because they're set to the screen mode, we get this interesting interaction. So you can see that the color guide panel just sits there and gives and gives. And you can create so many color variations as you work through your illustrations, which may make you wonder, why in the world have I not changed the colors of the t-shirts? It's such an obvious thing to do. They're still blue. We will be doing that in some upcoming exercises, so I'm saving that one. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and click on this rainbow wheel here to bring up the Edit Colors dialog box. And I'm going to select Vibrant Alternative, just because that was the last color set I created. And notice this little icon, the one icon we haven't looked at so far. Totally unintelligible, but it limits the color group to the colors in a swatch library. So go ahead and click on it, and suddenly you're going to see all the swatch libraries that ship along with Illustrator. And I'm going to switch to something like foods, let's say, and let's do ice cream. That should be a pretty big library. Well, apparently it's not that big. Let's try something bigger. I thought ice cream was going to be huge. Let's try fruit. Fruit's got to be big. And sure enough, it is. And basically what we're seeing, these geographical boundaries of color that we're seeing here inside the color wheel represent those specific colors that fall inside of this library. And there's many, many color groups inside this library, and they all add up to the colors that we're seeing here. Now, this is just a cross-section of the color cylinder. I want you to bear that in mind. So we're currently seeing some hue and saturation variations, but we're not seeing brightness variations. We would have to change this brightness slider right there. And as I darken the slider, notice that we're going to get fewer and fewer colors that are available to us. And as we increase that slider, as we brighten the hue wheel, we're going to get more and more color boundaries. So we're going to have access to more colors inside the library. Now, you can work that way, but you have to bear in mind that most of those color libraries are just arbitrary collections of CMYK colors. So they have no effect on the printing of your documents. If you want to print your artwork using spot colors for whatever reason, then you click on this icon once again. You would choose Color Books, which brings up all the industry standard color libraries. And then, because I'm working in the States, I would go ahead and choose Pantone Solid Coated, which is pretty much the most common library that I end up using because I am invariably printing on coated paper stock. And I'll go ahead and choose that library there. And now we're going to have a ton more colors available to us because the Pantone library contains something like 1,000 colors. And you can, experiment with the brightness value. You're always going to get fewer colors as you go dark because there's fewer color variations going on just inherently in this dark zone in the shadow region. And then you're going to get more and more colors as you brighten things up. Now, also notice here in the color guide panel, if you can see it on screen, that everybody is now a spot color. Just every single variation, warm to cool, doesn't matter, is now a spot color here inside the panel. So go ahead and save off your new group. I don't want to save over Vibrant Alternative, so I'll call this one Vibrant Pantone. And then I'll click on my new color group icon. And then I'll drop down here and click OK. And Illustrator asks me the absolutely unreasonable question of whether I want to save my changes. No, I don't want to save my changes. I just, spend 5 minutes in this dialog box for my health. Of course, I want to save my changes. Click on the Yes button. And now we can apply Pantone colors to our heart's content. The thing you have to bear in mind, though, is because these are spot colors, you're going to print each one of your colors that you assign as an independent ink, and that's going to increase the expense of the print shop. However, the client may insist upon that. There's many clients out there that want their logos, for example, printed in a very specific Pantone ink, Many other elements work that way as well. So let's say after experimenting with this, that's not the way you want it to work. You don't want the color guide panel limited to Pantone colors all the time. Why, you would go to this little icon right there in the bottom left-hand corner of the color guide panel. Notice it even says Pantone Solid Coated next to it to show you that you're limited. Go ahead and click on it and then choose None, and you are no longer limited to any colors. You can travel the entire CMYK spectrum inside of this print document. However, if you go back over to the swatches panel, scroll down to that last group you created, it is that vibrant Pantone group does contain exclusively Pantone colors because that's the way you established it. In the next exercise, we'll take our first look at recoloring artwork inside Illustrator.